All right, everyone, we got a lot to talk about today. We got to see, Jake's thoughts on Anthony Davis and his crumble against Denver Nuggets. We got to talk about Boston, Miami Heat. We got to talk about Jimmy Butler and what he's done for that franchise already. We got to talk about Nikola Jokic and what he's done for the Nuggets. We got to talk about our favorite player ever, pretty much, Carmelo Anthony, his retirement. So let's go ahead and get started.
I think we're going to start with the last one. Carmelo Anthony, obviously, as Syracuse fans, gives us a little bittersweet ending, given that we didn't get to see him, win a ring or end his career in the NBA on a team. So let's hear your thoughts on his career and what it means to you for him retiring.
It was honestly one of the saddest moments of my life. Honestly, because he's the reason why I fell in love with basketball. Is Carmelo Anthony. All I remember, right, pretty much of my whole childhood is him on the Knicks. When he put up what 61 in the Garden, that was beautiful watching him do that. Um, Obviously, we weren't old enough to remember when he won the championship with Syracuse, right? But at the same time, we've been watching highlights our whole life. We watched him play on the Nuggets, right? That great team with J.R. Smith, you know, and then you got Chris Anderson, you got Allen Iverson, right? So it was a very difficult moment because with me and our other co-host Nick said we were just talking about on when he's going to come back. And then for that breaking news to happen, for him to say, announce his retirement, it was a very sad day, very, very sad time. It's unfortunate he didn't get a ring, but like he said, he didn't lose the ring of life, right? He got pretty much every other accolade you can ask for. You got Olympic medal, gold medals. You got an NCAA championship, scoring title, right? Went to the Western Conference Finals, played against Kobe Bryant in his prime. And then off the court, his impact off the court. Obviously, we know his impact with Syracuse, but all over where he's played and all the cities he's played, and everyone loves him wherever he went to.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely a sad day for me as well. I wouldn't say the saddest day. The saddest day for me was obviously when Kobe Bryant retired because that's the one who made me fall in love with the game. But it was definitely a very sad day. I wouldn't say I'm shocked because obviously he is up there in age. I think he's around 37 if I'm correct, something like that. And he did play for 17, 18 seasons, so it
Yeah, he
doesn't
played for
surprise.
19 seasons.
Yeah, exactly. So like he basically gave it his all. And yeah, it's unfortunate he didn't win a ring, but all those other accolades still help him get cemented into the basketball world and probably a first ballot Hall of Famer even without a ring, which says a lot about his play, if even though he didn't win a ring, he's still gonna be a first ballot Hall of Famer. That just proves to you how good he was at the game.
For sure. And for me to say it was one of the saddest days of my life, honestly, I understand what impact that could have, right? The saddest day, right? But at the same time, in the grand scheme of things, it was the saddest day for me, basketball wise, right?
Yeah,
Obviously, I understand with you and Kobe Bryant, basketball wise, Kobe Bryant or Carmelo Anthony for me, my favorite player of all time, to retire like he did, to win it or to go out without a championship ring, right? To stop watching my favorite player play of all time, and we've watched him our entire life so far, and to watch and just to see him retire, it's like, is that the end? Like, what's next for him, right? And like how, because really, in the grand scheme of things, Carmelo Anthony is one of the most talented players ever.
oh, easily. And he still has it too. He showed that on the Lakers in his last season, basically.
Right. So for him to retire, it's just interesting to see how this next generation is going to play the game of basketball. Right? Are they
Yeah,
going to focus more on Carmelo's aspect of the game, right? Kobe's aspect of the game, more of a scoring approach instead of, like a LeBron James game where he's more of a passer.
for sure. I think it was more his retirement is more associated to time to pass the torch to his kid, as he said,
For
and
sure.
time to just devote the time with his kid to help him be the best player that he can be.
I would love to see how he develops and grows into a player because obviously he has all the skill in the world, right? He already has an offer from Syracuse, which is great to see.
Come on home.
So so it's going to be interesting to see how he develops into an NBA player, right? Just like Ronnie is developing and growing before our own eyes as well into LeBron James pretty much the way he's been playing the game. But another thing, right, for Carmelo, it's it's the fact that he was able to play for his home crowd in, pretty much Syracuse, the biggest, I would say biggest college in New York. I'd also say to play at Madison Square Garden and have those amazing years playing for the Knicks, right? You can't ask for a better career for Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, definitely not. It was definitely a dream come true for his career to play in front of his hometown for so many years. And then even in those Denver years, just to dominate the league like he did.
Um, I had a question for you. Speaking about those great Denver years, how where would you put his prime compared to other players?
Like top five, something like that.
The peak of his career, right? Where would you rank that according to, say, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, right? All those greats.
I'd say Kobe, MJ, and LeBron are the only ones ahead of his prime in his era.
I can see that. The only thing I would say is for Carmelo Anthony to do what he did on the Nuggets. Pretty, I understand he had a great team around him, but it wasn't as great as some of these Kobe Bryant teams, some of these LeBron James led teams, right? For Carmelo Anthony to do the things he did is so spectacular, and it's not just based upon the statistics; it's based upon the eye test, right? To see how dominant he was in the league, and no one could stop him, at least offensively. And he also played some defense at that time as well. So to see at that the highest level being played like that, I think you can make an argument that he cannot be beat by any player one on one in his prime.
I can agree with that. And honestly, I believe that right now too, because I believe he was not only one of the best, but the best one-on-one player in the history of the NBA.
I would have to agree. For so as all of this information is coming out, right, with Carmelo Anthony and all these great highlights coming about now because of the recency of his retirement. Kobe Bryant stated how Carmelo Anthony was the hardest player to guard in the NBA, not LeBron James.
And Paul George did the same. They said he used his strength to his advantage, and his first step was probably the quickest.
For sure. That's why his jab step was so lethal, was because because if he wanted to, he could have that first step and accelerate to the basket anytime he wanted to. But then again, he can also, elevate
Shoot
up
it.
and have that jumper right.
Yeah, I definitely do see where you're coming from. But talent wise, I would say that MJ, Kobe, and LeBron are still above him.
I would agree, no doubt. I would say Michael Jordan is okay. First, I would say LeBron James is the most talented player physically
Oh,
because he's 6'9", 260 pounds, doing the things he does, right? But I would say skill wise, Michael Jordan, you honestly can't beat Michael Jordan any period of time in his prime. So
yeah, but it's definitely up there for sure.
for sure.
But sticking to
Oh,
retirement.
wait,
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead.
One more thing. The chances he plays for Boeheim's Army, what are they?
I'd say right now it's very slim, but in the near future, like 2, 3 years down the line,
Mhm.
I'd say probably 50 to 75%.
I would love to see him in an orange uniform once again, right? Playing
Oh,
for
me too.
Boeheim's Army, playing for Syracuse. It would be a sold out crowd every single time, and it would
Oh,
be
for
amazing
sure.
to watch.
And if he does come, it's like I feel like it's an automatic championship. We won without him. Imagine what we can do with him.
I would love to see Devendorf and Carmelo Anthony play together one time in their, existence. So
Yeah. I I don't think he's going to do it right away, as I said, because obviously devoting time to his kids. But
right,
down the line, I could definitely see it.
for sure.
But sticking to retirement, your favorite player of all time did come out at the end of the Western Conference Finals after they officially get swept, unfortunately, and had a cryptic ending to his press conference saying that he has a lot to think about and that retirement is on the table. Obviously, that is LeBron James. So let's hear your thoughts on what do you think are the next steps for LeBron in his offseason and in life.
So just like everyone else has been saying, Tom Brady's been doing this or did this when before he retired for the last 3 or 4 years of his career, right?
True.
I think it's really the emotion of the loss.
Yeah, I also believe that injuries as well, the toll of the injury.
The toll of the injury. Obviously, he's going to need surgery. He played with a
Well,
torn
they said
tendon.
that Sham said he might not. So I don't know.
He might not, but at the same time, let's just call it as it is. He played injured throughout this whole
Oh yeah.
playoffs.
If for those of you who don't know, he played through a torn tendon for the last few months of the season as well as the entire playoffs.
Right, exactly. So for him to do that, to put up the productivity he did, to have 31 points in the first half of the final game, and and here's the thing with LeBron James, he said it himself. A day after losing, he's still 95% better than the league.
Exactly. So like, I mean, I just don't think he can walk away like that, especially after getting swept too.
For him to walk away, it would mean that he doesn't believe he can lead a team anymore.
I think it's the opposite. I think he doesn't believe in the roster that the Lakers have.
It's the fact that he doesn't believe in the roster. One, right? Obviously, you've praised Rob Pelinka in the past. I personally think he made, simple adjustments to the roster, which were pretty obvious adjustments in
Right.
my
Yeah.
opinion. So it did help. It did help a bit. Obviously, you guys won what, 20 out of your last, no, was it 20 or was it
Yeah, we
like,
won like 20 of our last like 22, something like that.
right,
And
something
then made
like
the
that.
Western Conference Finals as a seventh seed.
Right. Had the number one defense in the league in the final part of the season. It was
Right.
great, great last part of the season for the Lakers. For me, it's Anthony Davis. Is LeBron James losing hope on Anthony Davis?
I think Anthony Davis is a person that he trusts. I think that's the only person he trusts, though, outside of Austin Reeves, because obviously we saw on the big stage, D'Angelo Russell couldn't show up,
That's right.
and Austin Reeves, outside of Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura, no one else could show up. So I think he wants a primary scorer and ball handler outside of D'Angelo Russell, because obviously D'Lo isn't the answer in his opinion. He didn't come out and say it, but he reiterated it in his press conference. And then I think he wants a deeper bench and some more shooters off the bench as well.
For sure. Like we said in the past, the the easy way to win a championship with LeBron James is to have 3 and D type players.
Yeah, but I will say this: I do blame D'Lo for the loss. I don't blame Anthony Davis. The Western Conference Final Series, that is, because AD didn't play as bad as people are saying, in my opinion. He still averaged 27 points per game. And yes, he had off games, but all stars have off games sometimes. LeBron James had off games throughout the entire playoffs, and we still won because of D'Angelo Russell playing well and Anthony Davis playing well those games. And the fact that D'Angelo Russell couldn't have just one good game in the Western Conference Finals, that's what makes me put it on him over Anthony Davis.
Okay. And the thing is for me is D'Angelo Russell didn't have any expectations.
But I think he did though. He was supposed to come in and be that third guy and be that guy to step up when LeBron James or Anthony Davis had an off game, and he didn't do that in the Western Conference Finals, and I believe that's why we lost.
So the thing for me is, yes, he failed. He was supposed to be that third guy, but he failed. Thank goodness for Austin Reeves. He took that third option spot,
Yeah.
right? So so it's not the fact that it was just LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and D'Angelo Russell. You had the beneficiary of Austin Reeves and Roy Hachimura
Right.
on that, right? So I'm getting rid of the whole D'Angelo Russell thing. Anthony Davis, how old is he?
He's 28.
He is supposed to be in his prime right now.
He is, yes.
When LeBron and he's supposed to be a top 5 player, right, in the league.
Yes. Yes.
To me, a top five player does not have these mistakes. When LeBron James was in his prime, he was playing every single game, every single minute of the playoffs, not having a mishap whatsoever, at least in the second stint of Cleveland. He did not mess up in the playoffs.
Well, to me, why I say it's D'Angelo Russell is because, yes, Anthony Davis could have played so much better offensively, but he was still a defensive anchor, in my opinion. D'Angelo Russell was basically just out there doing cardio because he was getting attacked on defense and getting blown by most of the time. Sometimes he got a few steals and blocks, but very rarely. And then on offense, we saw what he was doing. He wasn't doing anything, couldn't hit a shot. So that's why I'm saying it's more on D'Lo than it is AD, because AD actually he didn't help the team offensively, but he still helped them defensively enough to keep them in the games, if that makes sense.
It makes sense, but here's the thing for me. Yes, you can have all these statistics, but Kyrie Irving said it best when he was coming back from his injury. It's not that if you can play 5 minutes of the game, it's how you can play the game in 5 minutes,
That is
right?
true.
Meaning,
And
how can you, determine how your team can win the game, right? And how you can help them.
that is true. But I still believe Anthony Davis didn't play awful. Obviously, he could have dominated so much more, and he just I feel like he was too passive in most games, and that's been a continuity. And I believe I do agree with you. I believe it's because of the injuries. All the injuries are in the back of his head, always
Right.
circling, so he doesn't want to be aggressive. But I need him to forget about that and just go to the rim. No one can guard you when you're one of the fastest big men in the league. Just make one move and get to the rim. It's all it takes.
That's all it takes. That the aggressiveness is not there. Obviously, we saw that. And the way he can affect the game, he didn't affect the game one bit. Yes, he scored what you said, what, 28 points per game.
27, yeah.
I I think he also had what, two blocks a game, maybe a steal, possibly
But like
13 rebounds.
obviously he could have dominated so much more.
But well, it's the thing. He didn't affect the game whatsoever. He still lost the game, right? LeBron James still gave it all his effort, and when it was time to shine, Anthony Davis was nowhere to be found, and that's why, in my opinion, and most other people are blaming Anthony Davis because he's supposed to be in his prime. He's supposed to be a top five player in the league, and he's not producing what he's supposed to, and he's not affecting the game like a top five player when necessary.
That is true. And one thing I will have to say, Anthony Davis needs to get so much more. If LeBron doesn't retire and AD is still in the Lakers next year, he needs to get so much more consistent. We cannot have this 30-20 game and then 11-10. What is that?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Is the fact that he can't affect the game. He's playing every other, which is a great game, right?
Right.
That's the top five players every other game. You need this
Yeah,
consistently, and that's why I'm saying, and most other people, unlike you, are blaming Anthony Davis is because of that every other stint. As a top five player, you can't do that, and all the responsibility as a number one option goes to you.
yeah, I agree. He does have to be better. I believe that him and D'Lo are the main prospects to blame for the Western Conference Final sweep.
Oh, don't forget about Darvin Ham for the
Oh
adjustments he
yeah,
made
yeah.
last part. Like you said, why wouldn't you have made those roster changes earlier on in the series? You guys could have at least won one game in Denver, I would say, game two possibly.
Bro, we
You
could have
could
won. We could have obviously game one we were going to lose because we came
right,
out flat, but we could
right.
have won game two.
That's what I'm
Just
saying.
what are we playing small ball for
Right,
from the start? Like
right.
this isn't the Warriors. The Warriors were small. The Nuggets are not.
No, as we saw, their length and their athleticism beat us or beat you guys.
Yeah, exactly. So like I mean I still credit Darvin Ham for the job he did turning the team around after a 2-10 start, getting the Western Conference Finals. I don't believe he should be fired like most Lakers fans do. I believe that Rob Pelinka needs to get less guards because he plays way too many 3 guard lineups. So I believe Pelinka just has to get less guards on the team next year and work around Darvin Ham's flaws, because if you work around his flaws, he is a great coach and he does have a chance to win a title as we saw this year.
For sure. And here's the thing, yes, Anthony Davis played great. You guys wouldn't have been where you are without Anthony Davis. I think with a better player or better two players, you would be in the finals right now.
I agree.
And here's
But
the
I
thing. I'm sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and here's the thing. Rob Pelinka needs to do the smart move. Yes, it's gonna be a hot take. It's gonna be a very hot take. You need to. I've been saying this the last 2 years. Anthony Davis' health is a concern, right? When he plays, you never know what Anthony Davis you're gonna get, right? You can get a top five player, or you can get I would say a solid role player, right, out of Anthony Davis. But with the amount of possibility he still has, I'd trade him, right? You need to trade Anthony Davis, get what you can for him, like a Jaylen Brown, right? And a Robert Williams sort of thing going on because I think the Celtics are going to trade JB or Jason Tatum after they lose the series. Get Jaylen Brown, get Robert Williams. You got the size, and you get a second option for scoring.
I've already we've already been through this, outside of the pod. I'm not a big fan of trading him yet. I want to see what this roster. If LeBron retires, I'm all for trading him for a Kyrie or someone like that because I don't believe Anthony Davis can lead a team by himself. We've seen that in New Orleans. That's why he left New Orleans because he can't lead a team by himself. But if LeBron is back, I'd like to see not everybody back, but a version of this roster back and see what both of them, both of LeBron and Anthony Davis can do when fully healthy. Because I don't believe, obviously, LeBron James hasn't been fully healthy. And Anthony Davis, well, we all know he's never fully healthy. But I believe that if they do stay fully healthy with this roster as is, we could have made the finals still.
You said hell in that sentence so many times, right? And for Anthony Davis to be healthy, yes, you know this. It's not that hard to understand. Anthony Davis can't stay healthy.
Yeah, but I don't believe we'd get a player back for him because of his health that could get us to where he can get us.
I think defensively, Robert Williams is that
Yeah,
guy.
but Jalen Brown disappears in the playoffs as we've seen all series long.
True, but at the end of it, you have LeBron James who makes every player
Yeah, but
better.
but LeBron is gonna be 39. He can't do
39,
this
right?
all by himself. He needs
But
help, and I don't believe Jalen Brown is the best second option for him. Anthony Davis would be better.
I think if you are capable of getting Kyrie Irving, if you are
Uh,
capable of getting Kyrie Irving, keep Anthony
yeah,
Davis. Why? Because Kyrie Irving is clutch. Kyrie Irving shows up in the big moments, and he knows how to win a championship.
you see, I'm just not a fan of Kyrie and his headaches. That's my worry. And I don't yes, I blame D'Lo for the loss, but I'm not a fan of letting him go if he asks for a reasonable amount. That reasonable amount is not 30 million a year like he wanted prior to this series. If he's asking for 15 to 20, that's the max I'll give him, 20 million. If he's asking for in that range, I will bring him back because he still did help turn the team around. And he had the first two series, he had fairly good games. Obviously, he was on and off. There's, but outside of Kyrie Irving, I don't see many better options than D'Angelo Russell
I have to see who's in the offseason, right? And
because
if free agent.
Kyrie Irving and Trae Young so far have been linked to us both.
Yes,
If
I
I have to
understand
choose
Trae
between those
Young.
two, I'm taking Kyrie because he's proved he can win and he can play defense. Trae Young, to me, he's young, number one, so he doesn't know how to win. He turns it over too much, and his shot selection is just way too hit or miss. And he can't play defense. So he has more flaws than Kyrie. But if it's between Kyrie and D'Lo, honestly, I'd rather take D'Lo because D'Lo, I feel like he doesn't fit better with the team, but he's less of a headache. And that's the reason I choose D'Lo.
Yes, Kyrie Irving is a headache. We've seen that in the last three teams he's been with. The thing is, for me, is I like history. History usually tends to repeat itself. It
Like,
tends to.
just for me though, thinking about it, last year when he was on the Nets before getting traded to the Mavs, he sat out like 50 games for personal reasons.
That's the thing. You don't need this is the whole gameplay for the Lakers. How do we win a championship? We can get to the playoffs. How do we win a championship?
True.
D'Angelo Russell is not that guy. As we know,
No.
he doesn't show up in the playoffs.
Right. Well, he did the first two series, but when the lights get brighter, he does not.
When the lights get brighter, last year he didn't show up when he was in Minnesota, right? Obviously, I think he might have shown up. I'm not quite sure when he was with Brooklyn,
I think he
right?
showed up one playoffs out of five so far.
Okay, right. Okay, right. So here's the thing. History shows that D'Angelo Russell doesn't show up in the playoffs. History shows that LeBron James and Anthony Davis led team with a solid-ish roster, right? Like a Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves, right? Maybe a Tristan Thompson because he showed a lot of effort, I would say, in those 10 minutes. Get a solid role players, right? Though that team alone can reach you to the playoffs. You don't
Oh,
even
for
need to
sure.
have, like you said, Kyrie Irving missed 50 games. You don't need Kyrie Irving to play in the regular season. You just need him to play in the playoffs.
That is
When
true.
he's in the playoffs, that's all that matters. You just need to win a championship, right?
True. But I just feel like another reason I don't want him is because we're gonna have to let go of one of Reeves or Rui, and I want both those guys back.
So why can't you keep both of them and get rid of D'Angelo Russell?
I mean, we could, but like I still feel like Kyrie's gonna want too much money where we'd be over the cap.
See, here's the thing. Yes, Kyrie Irving wants the bag with the Mavs, but would he take a pay cut with the Lakers to get
True.
another championship, to play with LeBron James his final year with the Lakers possibly, or final, obviously, I know he's gonna have an extension, right? He had the
Right.
extension
Yeah.
for 2 years, but then he
Yeah.
got Anthony Davis, who has good connections with Kyrie Irving as well. Kyrie loves LA, obviously. He was there for every single finals game in the LA
Well,
or
people are
conference.
saying that he's doing that for leverage to get more money from the Mavs.
And here's the thing, that's a smart move by him.
It is.
One,
And I
and
also another reason I just don't want I it's not I don't want Kyrie, but I just don't think the Mavs are gonna let him walk for nothing after everything they give up for him for what, 10 games that he played with them? I don't think they're gonna let that happen.
I don't think they're yeah, right. I don't think they're gonna let that happen. One and two, it all depends on Luka Doncic. Whatever he wants
That
goes,
is
and
true.
I think that if
I I believe that if Kyrie is gone, it will be because of Luca. Because obviously, as we saw the last part of the season, he said basketball's not fun anymore. And that's after Kyrie was there. So he was throwing shots at Kyrie. And it's gonna come down to Luca or Kyrie. If that's the case, Mark Cuban better pick Luca.
well, he's gonna pick Luka. Why? Because he's had success, right?
Right.
With Luka Doncic. He
So
knows
like
Luka is a top five player. He's a very smart person and he's more marketable than Kyrie Irving.
for sure. Obviously, the Mavs, it came out that they have had eyes on AD. Personally,
Mhm.
I don't want an AD for Kyrie swap because I'd like to see AD with Kyrie if we do get
Yeah,
Kyrie.
right, for sure.
So if they get D'Lo and pair him with Doncic, you think it'd be better for them than it is with Kyrie and Doncic?
I You think they would make a swap with D'Lo and Kyrie?
I mean, they're both free agents, number one, so we could sign and trade both of them. Each of us sign that one and then trade them. I
But
feel like it's realistic, but the Lakers would have to throw in some more, obviously.
you guys would have to throw in some more. Obviously, I don't think you guys would want to get rid of picks, future
No,
pick.
I think we put in Malik Beasley or some other bench players, obviously, because Beasley's value went
Mhm.
straight down when he came to us. And maybe I don't want to trade number 17, but maybe number 17.
I can see that. I really can. If you do that, right, I could see D'Angelo Russell playing better with Luka Doncic one because I think he's a better catch and shoot player than
100%.
off the
And we saw
dribble,
that on the Lakers.
right? Kyrie Irving, right, needs the ball. It's not going to work out with Luka and Kyrie anyways.
And plus, it would work out for LeBron because he came out after the sweep and said, "I don't want to be the main guy anymore." Kyrie can come in and be the main guy,
Kyrie can be the main guy.
and he
LeBron
loves to be
James
the main guy, as we
right.
know.
Right. Exactly. You have the leadership of LeBron James. You have the basketball knowledge and IQ of Kyrie Irving, and then you have the chemistry between Kyrie and Anthony Davis, and the still ability because they're young to play fast off the ball, on the ball, whatever the case may be, that they can dominate without LeBron James, really being on the court.
For sure. Do you think Luca would be more happy with D'Lo than he is with Kyrie?
I think Kyrie Irving, like you said, is a headache. I also think Kyrie Irving tries to be too much of a leader, right? He's
Yeah,
trying too much. I think D'Angelo Russell likes to take the back seat and let Luka Doncic do what he wants to do.
I can agree with that. I can definitely see that, especially based off what I saw with D'Angelo on the Lakers. He liked being the third option. He liked it better than
Right,
being the first option at Minnesota.
right, for sure.
But honestly, I think the Lakers' best option is to retain Austin Reeves, number one,
Have to
put
keep him
him at point guard because we've seen that he can handle the ball and make the best plays.
for
And
sure.
then sign a two guard who can replace him at the two, and then get a center to pair with Anthony Davis. Because back in 2020, we saw how we dominated with two bigs on the floor at all times. And
Right, when you had
no,
JaVale McGee or you had Dwight Howard out there
with
with
Anthony Davis, no
Anthony
team
Davis.
could come in
Right,
the paint.
right, for sure.
So I think that's our best option if we can get it done.
I could see that. Would it would suck. Would but how could you I know Rudy Gobert probably wants out of Minnesota, and he's a problem as well.
Yeah, I'm not a
But
fan of
the
Rudy.
trade value is so low right now for Rudy Gobert
True.
that you could get him for probably nothing. He's a solid big interior, right? And Anthony Davis can play the four, which he probably wants to do anyways.
Yeah, that is true. And he's obviously his defense isn't as good as it once was on the Jazz, but it's still a defensive anchor
For sure,
and negates people from coming in the paint.
for sure.
And as we've seen in 2020 and 2021, Anthony Davis is at his best when he plays the four. Everyone knows it.
Yeah, because he's able to play on a smaller player, right? One. And two, he's able to, extend his game a little bit further out into the 3-point line, which he loves to do anyways.
For sure. And we saw that in those years, he didn't have as many injuries because he wasn't, in the paint as much as he is now.
Right, and he's going to be battling down in the paint as a five. Obviously, you got to go against Giannis Antetokounmpo. Jokic, obviously, is 280 pounds or something like that. Massive player having to do that and then play the number one spot on offense. You just can't do that going against Jokic defensively.
No. So I think that's the Lakers' best option, but it will be a very interesting offseason. First of all, seeing if LeBron decides to retire. If he does retire, I think same thing with Carmelo Anthony. It will be because of his kids. He wants to help develop Bronny as he goes into college and
And
then
Bryce,
Bryce as well.
yeah.
So I think if he does retire, that will be why. But me personally, I say he plays one more year, and then unfortunately, we won't get to see him play with Bronny because of all the wear and tear that he's gotten over the years.
I see him. Obviously, I think he's gonna play one more year. Two, I think if he does play one more year, he's gonna announce he's retiring. I
Right.
think
That's
he
what.
wants
Yeah,
a
that's what I
farewell
think
tour,
too.
just like with Kobe Bryant.
Yep.
So,
That's what I
and
was
then
thinking.
yeah, and then obviously Michael Jordan got a farewell tour his last
Right.
season with Washington.
Yeah.
Right? With
That's
yeah,
why another reason I think he's coming back because he doesn't just want to say it without, getting honored by everybody, I feel like. Especially the Cavs. Like he wants to go home one more time or two
right.
one more time and just, thank the fans and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think the caliber of a person and player LeBron James is. You can't just walk away. Obviously, Carmelo Anthony's an amazing player as well. He's been out of the league for 2 years now, just
Right.
about, and his career obviously went downhill quickly, and he was out of the NBA for a year as well. But for LeBron James to be the greatest player of all time, possibly to have the career he's had, he it would be respectful not only to him but to the fans as well to have that farewell tour.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I think is going to happen. He's not going to announce he's going to retire, but he's going to announce that this will be his last year, as he
Right.
did tell Anthony Davis that he's probably going to be done by the time the 24 Olympics start, which isn't this summer, but next summer. So after next season, he'll probably be done.
For sure. And for him to end his career like that, I don't know if he makes the playoffs.
I believe he does. And I believe that it will give if he's still in the Lakers, it will give the Lakers fuel to send him out the right way by not only making the playoffs, but hopefully pushing to a championship as well.
I would see that. Another thing is who'd want to play with LeBron James his last year, right?
I,
Like I'm saying there's gonna be a lot of players in that
true.
off season and that free agency who's gonna say, you know what, I would rather be part of history like a Draymond Green. I'd rather be part of history and be part of this team than have a better chance of winning a championship.
For sure. And I believe that if LeBron does come out and say that, that Draymond Green will become a Laker because it's already been rumored that the Lakers have interest in him. And if
Right.
LeBron says it's his last year, I think that would just be enough for Draymond to be like, all right, let's go.
Exactly. He loves the game so much that he would want to be part of that history. I could see Klay Thompson, another great shooter, possibly leaving, right? He wants the bag, obviously, with Golden State. but at the same time, it looks like that band's breaking up.
Right.
When that
I believe,
happens, they might go
yeah,
to the Lakers.
maybe. I think that I don't know if the Lakers are going to win the championship next year because we got to see what their roster looks like. But if they have a version of this roster back, I believe they'll be a top four seed and be the favorites for the championship.
I could see that. You said the favorites for next year?
Not the favorites, but one of the favorites.
We have to see how Golden State reconstructs their roster,
True.
obviously with the trades and everything like
Right. It
that.
goes it goes I'm just saying it before the offseason that depending on, everyone's moves, we'll wait and see.
Mhm.
But as of right now, if the rosters stay the same, I believe that if they have a version of this roster, they'd be one of the favorites.
It would be interesting because you obviously have Sacramento,
Right.
right? Put respect on their name now, man. They
Yeah.
can ball.
Yeah.
Golden State,
Denver.
Denver, obviously.
I'm not putting Golden State in there just because I got to see what they do in the offseason.
But like you said, with the rosters constructed right now,
Yeah, but like they weren't even close to a championship team this year, if you ask me.
when is the next time you're gonna see Klay Thompson go that ice cold?
Bro, I believe that Klay Thompson is going downhill.
I think he was in a shooting slump. I think he'll be
But
back.
like it was all season though. It wasn't just the playoffs, it was all season.
But also, is that the fact that there was the dysfunction within the locker room?
But like how'd that affect Clay though? Because it wasn't him who got punched, it was Jordan Poole.
Not that. It's the fact on the court. As you can see, Klay Thompson wasn't getting the looks he wanted, right? Klay Thompson being open the way he was, not getting past you. He's forcing his shot going up, right? Because he's not getting the same looks as he once did.
True, maybe. And maybe that'd be another reason why he'd want to leave.
Right. But here's the thing. There's just so many teams. I can't put the Lakers as a contending team right now because of how great these other Western Conference teams are.
I disagree though, because we just beat most of them though, going into the Western Conference Finals, outside of Denver, obviously.
Outside of Denver, right. You had dysfunctional Warriors team. We know that. Round two.
Yeah, but I believe we would have beat them either way, but that's just me.
Then you had obviously we had a bunch of issues going with Memphis Grizzlies.
True. But I don't think the Lakers are getting enough credit personally.
I could have seen Sacramento beating you guys first round.
Nah, I think we would have beat them in six. Because I think that the Montes Sabonis is defense and offense wasn't what it was supposed to be.
It's not what it's supposed to be, but the way that I saw Jamal Murray carve you guys up,
True, true.
I I could see the same guard play happening down with Sacramento.
That is true. Unfortunately, though, we'll never know because obviously the Warriors beat them.
Right. But here's the thing for me. No one's beating Denver. No one's beating Denver. With a healthy Jamal Murray, I've said this before, you can't beat Denver with a healthy Jamal Murray.
I do agree. Uh, After what I saw, what they did against the Lakers, they are dangerous.
I didn't put enough respect on the role players, right? Like
I didn't
Michael
either.
Porter Jr.,
Bruce
who else?
Brown,
KCP, Brown, right? I just thought of Jokic and Jamal Murray, the two all-stars in my opinion. And for the
so I think we just trademark cliffhanger Geo right now because every podcast almost boys getting a cliffhanger. But continue what you were saying.
So just to recap, I just want to say that the role players of the Denver Nuggets, the way they played, shocked me and shocked the world. Really, we know what Jamal Murray, we know what Jokic brings to the table. For those guys to play like they did, that's why they're a championship contending team. That's why they're in the finals right now. The way the role players play, like I said, I don't see Denver losing to anybody in the West.
That's fair, and I think I have to agree with that. Obviously, I don't want to right now because they kicked my
Mhm.
Lakers out. But after seeing them like in depth, that's the first time I've watched them in depth this season. They just play at their own pace, do whatever they want. And it's mainly because of a two-time MVP, Nikola Jokic. He just runs that offense perfectly in transition. They slow it down at their own pace. It's just beautiful basketball. And I honestly think that now that they're in the finals, whoever they play in the East, obviously it's looking like it's going to be the Heat, but you never know. I believe they're going to win it all.
for sure. And for him, not just the two-time MVP, right? To me, it's on Jamal Murray.
Yeah, dude.
Why they're so
He
successful.
obviously the Lakers didn't have great defensive guards to guard him, but he's done it. He did it against everybody in the West, no matter who the defender is. Kawhi Leonard, one of the best in the league. He's done it against multiple great defenders, and he's just when he's healthy, he's so underrated.
He's so underrated. Here's the thing. I'm gonna say this again because I've said this in the past. If he did not get hurt in 2020, I see them being the champions.
I still think we win, but that's just because our roster played with such continuity. That's the only reason I'd give it to
They
us.
did, but the ability of Jamal Murray, the way he was playing that playoffs too, there was no stopping Jamal Murray and Jokic, right?
That is true.
You had Jeremy Grant, right? You had Will Barton on that team. You had a great team. Michael Porter Jr., I think, was a rookie that year too. Like they were fantastic.
I believe though, yes, Jamal wouldn't have been stopped, but I think that the Lakers would have been the deeper team that would have also put them over the top as well.
For sure, right? I can see that being a possibility. I just
Yeah,
Jamal
dude,
Murray,
Jamal,
man, he's
he
just
is
nasty.
he's nasty. But going back to the guard play, you said that, De'Aaron Fox probably would have carved us up, which I do agree. But that also got me thinking we did contain Steph Curry pretty well. So do you think we could have contained De'Aaron Fox like that, or does De'Aaron Fox just have something that Steph Curry doesn't that would have been harder to guard?
I think he has more speed, right? He's
I
also
agree
big.
with that. I
Um,
think every time I watch the Kings play us in the regular season, De'Aaron Fox's speed is what killed us.
right. Here's the thing with me, it's the coaching. Why do you not play Vanderbilt the last game? Why not put Vanderbilt in?
It's because he's
Like,
a to me though, to me, it's because he's an offensive liability.
but here's the thing: when the other team can't score, it doesn't mean you lose. It just means that it's a tighter game. So when you have
Yeah, but
Jamal
like the
Murray
thing is though,
contained,
they were leaving him wide open in the corner, and they'd go and double Anthony Davis or LeBron James, take them out, and have to force us to pass to him where he missed a shot.
I would rather have that happen and rather have because he'll make the shots. He'll make some of the shots. I say Jared Vanderbilt playing defense instead of Jamal Murray. Obviously, we know what Jamal Murray can do, but he locked up Steph Curry, the greatest shooter of all time.
True.
For instead of having Jamal Murray average 32, 5 and 90%, from the free throw line, right? All this great percentage and statistics, it would have been decreased. And I think you guys would have had a closer game. Obviously, it was close enough, but I think it would have put you guys over the edge.
Yeah, that's fair. Obviously it would have been a tough task either way to come back down 3-0. I don't think it would have happened,
Mhm.
but it would have been better to not get swept, obviously.
For sure. But heading into the finals, I just want to say this real quick about Jamal Murray. He shared, I don't think I get enough respect as I should be. I'm better than a lot of players in the league. Every time I see rankings of guys, I think, man, that's crazy. Maybe it's because I have been out for so long, but if we win the chip, it changes everything.
I agree with
Jamal
that.
Murray, I've been saying this. To me, he's a top five guard in the league. You can't beat him offensively. Yes, he doesn't show up in the regular season, but he turns up in the playoffs, and really, that's all that matters nowadays.
That is very true. And I do agree with what Jamal said. And the fact that the Nuggets have him as a second option behind Nikola Jokic is just insane. Because he averaged 25 points per game on like 75% shooting in the Western Conference Finals.
Right.
And he wasn't even the Western Conference Finals MVP. That was Nikola Jokic. Having him as a second option just proves it just proves why they're so dangerous.
It's dangerous because this is what Joel Embiid and James Harden should have been. That's
But James Harden, maybe in his Rockets days, yeah, but not today.
no. I'm saying even today we saw it in game one. I'm just saying this was should have been the potential. This is the potential, right? that James Harden and Joel Embiid could have had. But since you have the ability to have a secondary option like Jamal Murray, release pressure off of Jokic, right? And the game of Jokic, right, and how great he is, it also gives the ability for Jamal Murray to play his own game.
Yeah, that's very true. But I believe that James Harden is a player that works better alone, while Jamal Murray is a player that works better together.
I I really think that James Harden just has to watch this tape because this is what he could be doing, honestly, in my opinion. He can play like Jamal Murray. He's got, great ability to drive into the lane. He's got a great shot, great passing ability. He just has to take the open looks. He has to make the best out of the opportunity, which obviously he doesn't because he doesn't show up in the playoffs. So
For sure. I don't think it's going to matter though, because I don't see him being with the Sixers. Because obviously they haven't had the appetite to give him the max. And I believe that he's going back to Houston, as I said.
for sure, I'm just saying to have a guard, right? A guard as your second option that's playing like almost as an MVP caliber player right now, right? Which James Harden has the capability of doing.
Yeah,
And for Jokic to be a top two player in the game, an MVP, two-time MVP, and for Joel Embiid to be the MVP this year, that was their ceiling. They could have done what the Nuggets are doing right now and playing as great as they are with these two great guys, right?
well,
We saw it before with Giannis and Drew Holiday and why they went so far.
yeah, I definitely agree. I just, as I said, I just believe that Harden isn't the best team player to play with.
See, I disagree, but at the same time, it's not about those guys, right? It's about Jamal Murray and Jokic.
Right. Yeah.
I'm saying this is really the blueprint, right? If
Oh,
you're a
yeah,
great guard and you have a great center, like I was saying with Joel Embiid, this is what you can do because the success is if you can have success with your center and your guard, right? And you guys are two great players, you can relieve each other's game, right? And relieve stress off of one another and the pressure off of one another. And you can have success by, working with each other instead of trying to be superheroes by yourselves.
for sure. And I believe that if the Sixers do move on from Harden and get Embiid a point guard with the caliber of Jamal Murray, the sky could be the limit for them.
I don't see Joel Embiid ever winning a championship.
I don't either, but if he does get a better point guard that could play with him like Jamal Murray plays with Nikola Jokic, I believe he could reach the finals.
I don't think he'll reach the finals because this is a very odd year. Giannis Antetokounmpo got hurt. I really don't see anyone beating Giannis Antetokounmpo and the team he has around him. Obviously, you have the Miami Heat. Those two teams put up a wall, right, on any other Eastern Conference team. Then you've got yourself, obviously Boston, but I think that's going to break up after, and we'll discuss why in a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're definitely probably the fourth best, if that, in the East.
Right. I would agree.
Yeah, moving on to the Celtics. What do you think the Heat have to do to finish off the Celtics tonight? Because obviously they struggled in game four.
Make the easiest play. I think they were missing shots, right, that they would have normally make. I
Oh, for
think they were
sure.
I think they were too they got flustered, it looked like,
I
obviously on
agree.
offense. I think they need to slow things down. I think they need to play more through Bam Adebayo. Obviously, he can't be stopped when he's being aggressive. I think Jimmy Butler, he's trying to hit too many forced shots, let other guys, let other guys, do their own work. And also Boston. It's not that the Miami Heat lost. It's the fact that Boston were making every single shot they were
Yeah,
missing the first three games.
yeah, I agree. I believe that it does end tonight, and I believe that it falls on Jimmy Butler in game four because he had probably his worst game of the playoffs.
Right.
And
Although it was still 28 points or something like that.
right, but I'm just saying shooting wise, he was missing shots that he usually easily
For
makes.
sure.
So I believe that he'll bounce back tonight. and get his teammates involved, as you said,
Mhm.
as he was in games 1 through 3.
Right.
And I don't see the Celtics getting that hot again. I know they're playing at home, but it's strange comes when it comes to the Celtics. They play worse at home than they do on the
Right.
road. So I think it will end tonight, and it will be the Nuggets Heat come next Thursday, I believe, is when it would start.
Yeah. I agree. Miami's 4-1 in the last two seasons, I believe, at Boston, and I also believe, like you said, Boston has played worse at home. I think what are they? They're 2-5 maybe or something like that in the last two series at home. So I do believe that Miami's going to win this game. I think they're going to have a better shooting night. Obviously, Gabe Vincent is not playing tonight.
Yeah, they're gonna have to find a way to replace him because he's been big for them this series.
I think Strus is going to step up, but also I think Caleb Martin, he's that
He's
second
been
option right now,
he's been huge this series.
right? And I really believe he's going to have a big game along with Jimmy Butler, and I think Bam Adebayo is going to have a solid game as well,
Yeah. The Heat are also a blueprint for every NBA team.
for sure.
It doesn't matter if you don't draft the guys. Just sign guys that you think are going to be good, develop them, and then you see what they can turn into via the Heat or anybody else. And why the Heat are in the finals is because of how deep they are.
It's the fact that how deep they are, but at the same time, I don't know if this is luck. They were the 27th three-point shooting team in the league during the regular season. Now they're the first. They went from 27th to first. To have that turn on like that, it's either pure luck or they've been playing us the entire year.
It's not pure luck. It's just skill. And as you said, regular season doesn't matter. Playoffs are the only thing that matters. We've seen this in the past. When the playoffs come, the Heat always turn it up.
They turn up, but it's the fact that they were the number one seed last year. It's the fact that they were the 8th seed this year. They were the 27th ranked three-point shooting team in the league this year. To go from 27 to the first, it's like there's something missing there.
Yeah. I, I don't know what changed, but
You know what I'm saying?
obviously, obviously, whatever changed or whatever they changed before the playoffs, they got to continue to do it.
They have to continue to do it, and it's so scary to me because I want to pick the Heat as my favorites, right? I really see Jimmy Butler carrying this team to a championship berth and to a ring possibly.
The only reason I don't have them as my favorites is because the Heat always get there, but then somehow they always mess it up.
Well, they're
And
two and
injuries too.
I agree, but here's the thing: in the last four finals runs they've been at, they're 2-2. I would say they would be 2-2. No, they are 2-2 in the last four. They're 2-2. One 2012 and 13, lost 14, lost 2020.
Yep.
I would say they make it this year. They have health, I would say, for the most part, except for Gabe Vincent. Maybe he'll play. You never know.
Well, and if Tyler Hero comes back.
I wouldn't expect him. I'm looking at the team that they've constructed right now
Okay.
that that's had success in the playoffs.
Well, the fact that they're in the finals with all these injuries
Right.
just proves how deep they are too.
It proves how deep they are, but it's the same thing. It's shooting. Right now, everyone's making their shots.
Yeah,
Kevin
it's
Vincent, they can be missing their shots as well.
yeah, and obviously when we did see a miss last game, they lost,
Right. It's also the same thing with Boston. If they make more than what was it, 23s a game or something like that, they
which is what they
easily
did in
win.
game 4 and why they
Right,
won.
right, for sure.
So I I don't know. It's gonna be interesting, but if I'm the Heat, I want to close this out tonight because I do not want to give the Celtics life.
You have to close this out tonight. If it comes down to you're back on your home court and you lose,
And
the
you go back
Celtics
for a game 7
go
with them
back for
getting
game.
momentum.
That's right. They have momentum. They're back in game seven. Anything can happen. And I think Boston would win that game just because they have deflated the morale of the Miami Heat.
I agree. And that's another reason why I believe the Heat are going to come out with a fire tonight, especially Jimmy Butler, because he knows what it takes to close out the series. And he knows that if they do give him life, anything can happen.
Right. and that's why I expect Jimmy Butler to be the most aggressive player on the court tonight. I hope to see a duel because Jason Tatum needs to, come out like he did in the second half of last game. What did he score? 24, 25 points in the second
Mhm.
half last game. I really think that he needs to come out with the same fire, and I would love to see that duel between Jimmy Butler and Jason Tatum.
For sure. And I believe that Jaylen Brown's getting a little bit too much of the blame for the deficit of the Celtics.
Mhm.
Yes, he hasn't shown up in the playoffs, but no one's talking about how Jason Tatum hasn't really shown up in this series either.
Yeah, he didn't score a single field goal, not even shot a single field goal, I believe, in the first three games of the series of the fourth quarter.
In the fourth quarter is your time. What are you doing?
Right.
So, like, I believe that this is more on Jason Tatum because he's supposed to be the guy. They're
Mhm.
supposed to lean on him. And when he is not being aggressive, and as Shaquille O'Neal pointed out in game 4, his body language hasn't been great. He keeps waving off the coach, waving off the refs, putting his head down. Your teammates notice that and they start feeding off of that. And that's not what you want if you're the Celtics.
For sure. And the thing is for me, right? They lose the series. Let's say they lose the series.
I believe they do. Yes.
Who do they get rid of? Obviously, we know what Jason Tatum is capable of doing, but seeing him perform in this last series and seeing him perform in the last conference final series or and the finals, right? Would you get rid of Jaylen Brown or would you get rid of Jason Tatum because you know you can possibly get more for him?
I believe that they do need to get rid of one because obviously, yeah, they're great friends and they work well, but they don't work well enough to win. And I think the one they have to get rid of is Jaylen Brown because Tatum has proven that he can show up in the playoffs. He's had a 51-point game as we saw against the 76ers and played great last playoffs before the conference finals and finals. But Jaylen Brown hasn't shown me anything come playoffs, and I believe that's why they have to move on from him over Jason Tatum.
Okay, I can see that, but where is his destination? Would you say the Knicks? Would you say possibly Atlanta?
I believe the Knicks would be a great fit for him. They could get rid of Julius Randle as so many
For
want them
sure.
to,
Right.
and they could get uh not like not the guy because obviously the guy is Jalen Brunson as we all
Mhm.
saw in the playoffs, but
Right.
they could get a better secondary option for Jalen Brunson outside of Julius Randle.
Right. And do you think if they get rid of Julius, is RJ going to take that next step?
I believe he will because he'll have the ball in his hands more
I think if you have same team constructed without Julius Randle and you add Jalen Brown in there
with Jalen Brunson and quickly off the bench.
with quickly with Josh Hart with Sims, right? I
Obi
maybe Sims,
Toppin,
Obi Toppin, you have Mitchell Robinson, right? With that team constructed, they make the conference finals, if not the finals.
I believe they would make the conference finals. I agree.
And I think I would say the conference finals. And the only reason why I say the finals is because if they make the conference finals, anything can happen. And
Very
that's
true.
just one more series left to reach the finals, and I think they can do that.
Very true. But going to the Celtics side, me personally, if I'm the GM, I'm not taking Julius Randle. I do
I'm
not like Julius Randle.
two players I will not, I will not, or three. Let's say three: Julius Randle, Kyrie Irving. I'm not taking.
Right, because of
I'm
his
not
headaches,
taking,
as we all said.
and Anthony Davis. I'm not taking. I don't care what the potential is, but the reality is he, like we know, he doesn't stay
He can't
healthy,
stay
and
healthy. Kyrie has too many
consistent in the
headaches.
playoffs. Right,
Right. AD can't stay healthy. He does show up here and there in the playoffs,
right,
but not enough
right,
outside of 2020.
right,
Let's say that. And then Kyrie, too many headaches. And then
right.
Julius Randle is just he
Just
thinks he's better than he is. Let's
for
just put
sure,
it that way.
for sure.
And I believe that Jalen Brown could get the Celtics so much more than Julius Randle. I don't know his best destination, but if I'm the Celtics, I'm not taking Julius Randle. I know that.
Right.
I'm trying to think like
I
who's a
like
team that
Atlanta
who's a team
because
that could need a great two guard. Like,
I like Atlanta because you can put DeJounte at the one guard, right? And then you can
but
obviously have Trey
would you
Young go.
would you trade DeJounte or Trey? Because I feel like that's what the Celtics would ask for.
yeah, I think if the Lakers are interested in Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks are interested in moving him, I can see that possibility happening because Trae Young could fit with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown would fit with DeJounte Murray more, and I think Atlanta would going forward they have a positive future. So
But I believe that the Hawks would ask for much more than just Jaylen Brown for Trey, though. I think it would take a few more players and maybe some picks.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know. I feel like it would make the Hawks better. I don't know if it would make the Celtics better though, because they already have great point guards and aren't obviously no one to the effect of Trey though. So maybe, but I th- I don't know. I'm trying to think of a team that like really needs a two guard that is standing out, but like I can't really think of one because I feel like the Hawks they have Bohan. He's Bogdan or whatever Bogdanovich. He's pretty good, and obviously Dejounte.
You guys, you guys need a two guard.
But that I was thinking that, but that's if we don't move Reeves to the point.
Would you start Reed still?
I want Reeves starting. Yes, he's proven to me that he can be a regular nightly starter.
I would have him play the six man. I would have. I'm
What do we
trading
have
it.
that?
I'm
What
trading
do we
it.
have assets wise outside of Anthony Davis? Because say we want to keep AD, that could get us Jaylen Brown.
Nothing.
Exactly.
Because you need every other piece on that team to be a contender.
Exactly. So like that's why I don't think it's really realistic for us if we don't want to give up Anthony Davis. Who knows if we do? We'll have to wait and see. But if we do want to give up Anthony Davis, then we could get Jaylen Brown.
Right. I check this out. The Warriors for Jordan Poole.
That I did see a trade from Bill Simmons that was Jaylen Brown and Malcolm Brogdon for Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins.
If I'm the Warriors, I'm not getting rid of Andrew Wiggins. He's our secondary. He's probably the best defender in on the
I
team.
agree. I agree. But who would you throw in with Poole to get that done?
I'm getting rid of Kaminga. Rudy,
I don't think the Celtics would do that though. Just for Jaylen Brown, because their potential is not the same as Jaylen Brown's.
Jordan Poole, but they're so much younger. Kaminga is so young.
I feel like
I
if they do take Wiggins out and put Kaminga or Moody, they'd have to put some picks to make it work.
I would do that. Why? Because you keep Andrew Wiggins, your best defender. You have
Or
Draymond, Green, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry. You add Jaylen Brown, who's another offensive scorer, and you have Kayvon Looney as well.
that is true. Or if as you said, Clay might want to move on. If Clay wants to move on, you throw him in instead of Wiggins.
You throw him in instead of Wiggins. Oh, right, because you're getting Malcolm Brogdon as well. That's the thing for me is if you have Jordan Poole and Cole, no, you can't because to me, I don't think Clay's relationship with Jordan Poole
Yeah,
that is not on good terms right now.
that is true. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting if they don't want to move on from Wiggins, but that was the best trade proposal I've seen for Jaylen Brown so far out of all of them.
I could see that happening. Another one I would see possibly is Indiana.
Yeah, pair him with Halliburton, that could work.
Right.
But it goes back to the assets. Outside of Miles Turner, what do they got?
Buddy Hield.
True. Yeah, the pair. Yeah, because that they've been willing to move on, obviously, since last year.
Right.
That could work. I think that the Celtics will move on from Jaylen Brown, but it's gonna be a while till we see where he ends up because
Sure.
I don't think there's gonna be many suitors after him.
I agree. It's just the fact that the end result is the Celtics, after they lose the series tonight, the team's splitting up. You're
I
gonna have
agree.
Jason Tatum. You're probably gonna have Robert Williams.
I think you keep most of the core outside of Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown, right? You're gonna keep Marcus Smart. He's a Celtic probably for life.
You're gonna keep Brogdon because Brogdon
Right.
was six man of the year.
Right. I would Grant Williams. I'd get rid of him.
Yeah, because after seeing him poke Jimmy Butler, what are you doing, man? You
He's
never
not
you
that good,
you
man.
saw you saw how it worked with Dylan Brooks when he poked LeBron James. What did you think was gonna happen?
Right. Well, he's a good hustler. I like his hustle. He's a respectful player and a
Like he can shoot
respected
it.
player.
He can shoot it, but not
Right.
to the effect where he once was shooting it.
Right. And the defensive aspect of it as well. He's a great defender. It's just the fact that it's just not enough. You need more
No.
to your game than just defense.
Yeah, I agree. They're probably gonna get rid of Blake Griffin because he's too old,
Right.
but we'll see what happens. I do believe, and this might be a hot take, but I do believe that they're gonna fire their coach.
You think they're gonna fire? See, this is the thing. This is the worst.
But this is why though, because after game three, he came out and said he lost the locker room.
Right.
You never come out and say you
You,
lost the locker room.
you can't say that. The thing for me is this is the worst position you've ever put an NBA coach to
Because like
have.
what? Yeah, obviously taking over after everything that happened with Udoka.
You don't right that to not have the time to set up your own system, to not
Yeah.
have your own coaching staff, to
Oh, he
not
was a
have
great coach. Don't get me
players
wrong.
behind him.
He was a great coach. Don't get me wrong. And his players did eventually get behind him. But the fact that he came out and said he lost the locker room, to me as a GM, if I was a GM, that'd be eye opening. And I'd have to have a conversation with him. Be like, so why weren't you able to get them behind you? And if it's something that you can't overcome, then they're going to have no choice but to move on.
They're gonna have to move on from it. It's just a terrible position you're putting the Celtics in, and you put Joe Mazzulla in because Joe Mazzulla didn't actually have a fair chance this year.
Oh, I agree. But you, as I said, you just can't come out and say that. You cannot.
You can't come out and say that. One, as a coach, you got to be smarter than that, and you can't say that, especially in the conference finals. Two,
Exactly.
it's the fact that he did lose, as you see, he did lose the locker room.
And you
Um,
saw that when he pulled Jason Tatum in game four and Tatum just waved him off. Like,
right. But at the same time, if you're the best player, you should be out on the court the entire time. Jimmy Butler
true,
does
but
it. LeBron James did it.
true, but I think it was because he was in foul trouble. That was why.
To me, we've seen LeBron James in foul trouble in the playoffs before, and he
But like,
still
let's be
stayed on
honest,
the court.
no one is as smart as LeBron when it comes to basketball. So
True.
like
I
when
just
he so like when he's in foul trouble, he obviously avoids the fouls. But young players like Jason Tatum, they're still gonna be too aggressive to the point where they'll pick up their fourth.
I can see that. It's just the fact that I really do believe Jason Tatum is a superstar, and I
I
think
agree.
superstar IQ. I think I think he's able to control himself. That's the thing with me.
That's fair. But I do believe they'll move on from Joe Mazzulla because of what he came out and said. But who do you think, if they do that, is their best option at coach for next year? Because I'm going
Um,
to say Nick Nurse is off the table because he's already had finalists with the Bucks and another team.
I want to say that I want to say I really like what's I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name from the Suns.
Monty Williams.
Monty Williams. I think because he obviously I where could he go end up?
He could go to the Bucks, but he's not even a finalist for the Bucks, so he
Right.
can't.
So I can see
Oh,
Monty Williams.
he could go to Philly. I think he's a finalist at Philly
He is a finalist. That's the team he's a finalist for.
with Nick Nurse.
Right. I think if they fire Joe Mazzulla quick enough before the hiring of Monty Williams, I think Monty Williams would be great with Jason Tatum because he is so similar to Devin Booker. He can run the same schemes and all that and have the same system as if he was, still coaching Devin Booker.
I agree. And we saw Monty Williams reach the finals with a
Right.
great defensive team. And what are the
Right.
Celtics? a great defensive team. So I think that'd be the best fit for Monty Williams if they fire Missoula.
for sure. And I can see Monty picking up right where he left off with Phoenix. Also think that he'd have a better chance of winning a championship because I really just don't believe whether it's health with Phoenix, whether it's the playing ability. I just think the Celtics are that much better of a team, quality wise and players, that they'd have a better chance of winning the finals.
I agree, and they're much more deeper than the Suns team as well.
For sure.
And this is a little off topic, but now that we thought about the finalists, it's actually shocking to me that Mike Budenholzer hasn't gotten to be a finalist for any coaching job yet.
I don't think it's shocking. I think just like with a systematic quarterback, right? They're not gonna be the top option. I really think they're looking at it as he was the
He had
perfect
Giannis.
fit for Giannis Antetokounmpo
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
Milwaukee Bucks. Whereas, was he really that great of a coach, or was he just great because of the player around him and he was able to coach around that player?
true. And I also think that losing to an 8 seed as a 1 seed also opens GM's eyes like, whoa, I don't know about that.
It does, but at the same time, this is I love the fact that the media is playing so much towards like, oh, this is a Cinderella Miami Heat team. No, it's really not. They've been here 2 years ago, right? They've been to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 out of the 4 years. 3 out of 4 years.
Exactly.
So in reality, they're no 8 seed. Yes, it says 8 seed, but they're no 8 seed. So
It's the same thing with the Lakers. It said 7 seed, but the talent said otherwise.
for sure. And I really do believe that you can't really look into the playoffs as Budenholzer and to see, oh, he lost to an 8 seed. Well, one, they're not really an 8 seed, and two,
And
Giannis
two,
Antetokounmpo got hurt.
yeah, that too. And they have Eric Spoelstra at head coach, arguably one of the best coaches to ever do it.
Exactly. So you really can't look too much into this playoff runs by the Bucks,
But
and against
um
Budenholzer getting a
I
coaching
also
job.
think him getting out coached by Spoelstra opens GM's eyes as well.
It does, but at the same time, yes, he got out coached, but at the same time, his brother died. He wasn't in the same mental
True. I
clarity as
think
he
that
once.
honestly, I think that it's not teams aren't trying to hire him. I think it's him not wanting to be hired because he's not in the right state of mind right now.
I don't think he's in the right state of mind. I don't think it's him not wanting a job. I really think it's
He just doesn't want to get interviewed right now because he's trying to get over the loss of his brother.
for sure.
Um, yeah, it will be very interesting to see what happens down the line. But I think honestly, it'd be best if he took a year off for the loss of his brother.
I think that would be the best option for him. Um, at the same time, though, I think if he does take a year off, it's going to be harder for him to get a job later on.
True, but with his resume, it might be with his resume, it might be easier than people think. And I think it would be a lot easier for him because of his resume.
I think it would be a lot of, like you said, resume wise, but at the same time, it's so quick, it's a make or miss league, really, that if you're missed for a second and they forget about you, you're not coming back. Like Carmelo Anthony, the reason why he's not getting re-signed by teams was because he was out for a year, was because he wasn't re-signed by the Lakers or traded or whatever the case may be. Because once you're a free agent, whether you're a coach or a player, you do not have the option of signing. It's up to the team pretty much on signing you.
That is true. And if he does wait, who knows how many coaching openings will be next year.
Right, because you're not going to have the same amount of coaching openings like you did this year. Everyone got pretty much fired.
Right. Um, it'll be interesting to see. But before we close up, I'd like to say I did underestimate the Nuggets, and I am extremely sorry to them for saying that the Lakers would beat them. Go ahead and win the championship now, get Jokic's first ring. But either way, I will be very happy for whoever wins because if Jimmy gets his first ring as an 8 seed, that'd be absolutely insane in NBA history. And if Jokic gets his first ring, it's well deserved because he's done everything else outside of win a championship.
Um, I agree. You can't really be mad. Yes, Jokic wasn't MVP this year, but we all know he should have been MVP. Number two, Jamal Murray's that guy, right? We all know that. If you didn't know that before, you now know it. You know it now, right? See those guys win a championship. To see Jeff Green finally win a championship, that would be great to see. To see Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, obviously, all these undrafted players on the Miami Heat to get a ring, that would be beautiful as well. But really, there's no loser right now. Whoever wins the finals, and anyone can have respect for who's the winner is this year.
For sure. Got a segment?
I just want to do another quick thing about Carmelo Anthony, even though we did speak about him a lot today. I just want to say one more quote he had. Um, Even though he didn't win a championship in the NBA, he says this: "I won back in 2003, the night I shook David Stern's hand. That stage, I made it out of Red Hook. I've won at life." And really, yes, he did win at life because he's one of the best to ever do it. He's gonna be remembered of all time. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer. And lots of respect to Carmelo Anthony. And thank you so much for playing.
For sure. There's not much going on in the video game world, so I'm just gonna say thank you, Carmelo Anthony, for everything that you did, not only for the NBA, but for Syracuse University as well, bringing us our only national championship. You were one of the best to ever do it, if not the best to ever do it in the orange uniform and in the NBA as well. And congrats on an amazing career and enjoy retirement and stay mezzo. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you all on the next one.
Hey, thanks, guys. If you guys have any comments on the podcast, if you guys disagree or agree with anything, let us know in the comment section, right? Make sure you guys like the video if you guys like this podcast. Also, like Three Wise Men once said, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Peace.